Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back for some more Path of Exile, and in today's video I'm going to bring you guys the post commentary on hours 9 and 10 for my Necromancer, and I managed to get through Acts 9 and 10 also without dying, so I feel pretty good about that this character can handle at least that baseline content of all of the acts in a pretty easy way. For newer players this should be a pretty good option. And when it comes to Act 9 and 10, taking about 2 hours, I think it confirms that 7 and 8 are really the slower parts of the game. With maybe it's just that I don't know them well enough, but to me it does feel like they're a little bit more annoying. Act 9 is pretty straightforward. Couple of bosses where you have to be a little bit careful. In my experience, the Scorpion boss does that annoying jumping attack, and well, take a couple of those right on the head and you may be in trouble. But basically, because we have taken our time in Acts 7 and 8, we over level the content by a decent amount, and so even when we made some mistakes, it was not a problem. The mistake is, don't stand still, just keep moving around, keep avoiding the boss mechanics after you've summoned your army, and you should be good to go. The rest of the act honestly has been rather uneventful. When it comes to Act 9, I just kept pushing everything, and on my passive skill tree try to find the right balance. At this point it's no longer focused on minions, focused on defense. It's a little bit extra defense, a little bit of on the minion nodes, just trying to invest where needed. I did spend a couple of extra points for some agility, because I'm using a helmet that requires some agility, and apparently some of my gear was actually helping with the stats, so I had to basically juggle the agility a little bit. But I think now we're doing okay, and that even if all my gear would drop the agility attribute, that we would still be able to use the legendaries that I'm using at the moment. I'm also using a shield that gives me +2 to the maximum resistance. I think that's pretty damn nice, as long as I don't have endurance charges, which I don't really plan to have. But that means that I'm generally running around with 77% elemental resistances, which I would say is a nice little defensive boost there as well. And together with the 3 golems, we're just doing absolutely fine. The final part around the refinery, you gotta be a little bit careful there. That boss does have some slamming attacks and annoying lightning AoE around him, where again my army gave me the advantage that I could just focus on staying out of trouble as much as possible, because he also has some slam attacks, things that got on top of a couple of my characters before. But this time we again managed to go through that decently well. And then to finish that act, you come across this weird boss that's like an amalgamation of 3 sub-bosses. Summons some big scorpions, has some big AoE and things like that, but it's basically, I think it's 3 phases, and well, just summon skeletons, summon the totem, so everything burns around him. Next phase, same thing, and you yourself just have to focus on avoiding the damage. That's really the playstyle there. It makes it all pretty easy and somewhat trivial, you could say, but I enjoy it, and it's managing for me to get my character where I want without having to focus too much on all of the minutiae that can come with Path of Exile. After that, Act 10, what I tend to do here is to keep pushing up until we have Innocence back, and you then have to do a couple more maps, and then for the Kitava fight, before that we run into the laboratory. So it's a couple more bosses, it's a couple more skill points, and it's again not that difficult. I think after you've done it once or twice, you will know that layout by heart. I tend to just find the first waypoint, do the ossuary, then go back down, do everything there, go back up, get the staff, you get Innocence back, and then you jump into the laboratory. I keep saying laboratory, it's the labyrinth, and the labyrinth this time took a little bit more time, but overall, my strategy of just stick to the right side did work out. I had to go through 1 golden door, which required a golden key as well, a little bit of searching for that, but other than that, I think I had a pretty easy time as well, because just sticking to the right, I happened to come across a couple of those like hidden passages, I think, with a small switch on the ground, and I think that you get like something that either reduces the dangers in the fight itself with the boss, or gives you a buff or something like that. But I got 2 of those, and it really felt like again my army was able to get on top of Inaro, I believe he's called, pretty easily. And then a surprise thing did happen in the lab, and that is I got a gem that dropped that gives my minions plus elemental resistance, and if I have 40 intellect within the radius, it changes my skeletons to skeletal mages, and I should be able to summon up to 15 of them, but for some reason I do get the mages, but I can still only summon 9 of them at the same time. Still, it's something that I'll look into. At the moment I was actually using my skeletons to also have like a hit that does exposure, if I'm not mistaken. There's something like that. I'm not sure if that works on these spells that the skeletal mages do, but if it doesn't, I could just use the Empower gem. So overall, very nice. It changes the playstyle a little bit, but what I kind of like is that these mages are a lot less mobile, so you know, you can just focus on a boss and drop your skeletal mages right next to him, and their range is pretty big. So then on top of that, so you can just set them at the end of your screen, and they'll just start firing away from you off screen and do a decent chunk of damage there as well. So maybe multiple projectiles or something like that is better for these skeletal mages. But overall, that was a surprise drop. I don't think I've ever had that particular item drop, and pretty damn cool to see. So it gives me some extra options to build around. I could either stick with the regular skeletons and have them, you know, use melee hits and things like that as well. They're far more mobile as well. They're very aggressive, so they did tend to clear off screen, but it's just a little bit different with the skeletal mages, and maybe we could build some cool stuff around that. The Infernal Legion definitely does still work, and I basically just switch within the lab, gave it a try, and it still managed to do the final fight just absolutely fine. So that's pretty cool. Never seen that, and so perhaps I can find out what I need to do to get those 15 to be able to be spawned at the same time, because that would of course be a very nice upgrade from 9 skeletons to 15 skeleton or skeletal mages. That should be either a lot more damage, but also a far bigger area that I can like wall off with burning skeletons to keep me safe. So overall, I'm definitely looking forward to trying to get that to work. And then we got our third ascendency, which I chose the defensive one. So now we have bone armor. Oh, which now that I think of it, in the whole Kitava fight, I completely forgot to use it. But we got bone armor. It gives you extra HP, gets rid of bleeding, very important. So I can then do a little bit of a switch on some of my flasks, because I think my mana flask also removes bleeding. I can get something more useful for that then, and it also gives that buff to your minions, so they get extra HP yet again. At this point, honestly, the Burning Legion doesn't really do that much damage. I'm not sure if then the explosion skill point is still worth it, but it's very, very nice that they now last that long, because I can just really drop the totem, drop the skeletons, activate the shrine for the league mechanic, and I mean, they practically last throughout the entire shrine, especially if I use my flask a little bit, give them some extra HP, and then you know, if we're in 3-4, I just drop the Val summon skeleton as well, and it's a super smooth experience when it comes to the league mechanic, which has been pretty rewarding as well. Got some interesting stuff in there. Unfortunately, nothing that helps too much for my minions up to this point, but we'll see. We'll keep going, I think, for a little bit more. Of course, after the lab, we went back to Act 10 to go after Kitava, and yeah, again, I think it confirms what I was talking about. The reason why I made this Necromancer, it is because it's so easy, and that Kitava fight was really very, very easy. She used a couple of mechanics again on every phase. Just, you know, redrop your skeletons, they keep burning, the heart comes out, drop them around there, make sure you get your totem up and running, and actually use the Voss skeleton a little bit early, in one phase too early, but overall it was really not a problem. Never got into any real danger. There's a couple of big explosions, a couple of fire breaths that she did, but all of them, you know, very easy for me to just dash away, and I'm safe, because my minions have to do all the work anyway. So the army build, I feel, has come together quite nicely. I would say that I love the current specters that I have, and they're in boots that I need to upgrade at some point, which means I'm gonna lose them, but now I know where to get them. So it is in Act 8, I think. just before the bathhouse. That's where you can get those cool minions that will also summon little skills. It really just fills your screen with minions. Everything is fighting around you. You're left alone, so you can just focus on staying safe while everything else just gets obliterated around you. Super cool, massive army. And I think next up, well, we'll get to do a little bit of map grinding, because now I do want to get that final lab in so that I can give all of those minion gems, and I'm using a lot of them, a +2 that I think could make them very powerful. And then I do need to upgrade my gear to do some changes, because now after those 10 acts you get another punishment to your resistances. I'm very close, but I need a little bit from my gear as well, so I need to work on that. Got a couple problems with cold resistance at the moment, for instance, and then of course we'll need some extra chaos resistance as well. But it was pretty damn amazing to get through these 10 acts in 10 hours, and yeah, super easy, completely deathless. And I feel like this is, you know, if you want to try Path of Exile for the first time, and you know that there's so much to do and to keep in mind when it comes to all of these mechanics, well, a minion build is something that will carry you through pretty damn easily. So that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.